I know what you're thinking.
Halloween is right around the corner, and what's the best way to escape from the horrors of reality? Why, you read fictional horror manga, of course. So I'm here to help you out by recommending some horror mangas that you can read this October. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. Hopefully this video will help you find something you can read this month. Warning, there will be a lot of graphic imagery and gore in this video, which should be obvious. It is horror. Horror comes in many categories, and it's a genre that can be adjacent to another. That's the beauty of horror. It can honestly take on many forms, like a cosmic eldritch entity. But for this section, we'll start with pure horror. Mangas that are primarily horror, and its sole purpose is to make you scared. Which honestly is a little difficult. I mean, you can't exactly do a jump scare with a page. You kinda have to immerse yourself to it in order to get scared. Which is why the best pure horror mangas are short stories or part of an anthology. And typically these types of horror mangas will start slow and then climax with a page featuring graphic or disturbing imagery to try to unnerve you. Typically, these short stories will require a lot of reading comprehension, so they're not for everybody, which includes examples like PTSD Radio or Seeds of Anxiety by Masaki Nakayama, Beyond the Bad Dreams by Ukwisu Sachiko, Babylomania by Orville, and, of course, the most famous horror mangaka, Junji Ito. He has a lot of works to choose from, but I personally think his short story, Human Chair, is by far his scariest. Second place would go to Hanging Balloons. But maybe you want a longer story that includes character development, and that way we can start to incorporate other genres. Like, for example, maybe you want an action manga with horror elements, but also a good story on top. Well, Fire Punch and Chainsaw Man by Tatsuki Fujimoto is a good start. The early chapters of Attack on Titan are also very frightening. Tokyo Ghoul, Promised Neverland, and Monster are also good choices. Yes, these are the mainstream choices. Sometimes people just want to reaffirm that the popular mangas that they like are good. But I think the best horror adjacent manga that is mainstream would be Berserk. A pure dark fantasy of an unforgiving world filled with monsters and evil assholes, featuring tons of grotesque imagery that will dive into disturbing themes that many people aren't comfortable discussing. Such a world will drive anyone crazy, which is why Guts being able to persevere through it can be motivational. A lot of people love Berserk, and if you still haven't read it, you should. Of course, if you don't want a good story and you just want something trashy and gory like a majority of other horror media, there's tons of horror mangas that are just a gore fest, like Pumpkin Night, Fort of Apocalypse, and Magical Girl Apocalypse. So many apocalypses. You don't read these mangas because it's compelling literature, you just want to have a good time and you want to satiate your thirst for violence and find out how disturbed your mind is. Which brings us to DeadTube, probably my favorite in terms of horror mangas that just goes off the wall in gore and absurdity. Basically, it's a manga way ahead of its time, where you participate in a game trying to make the most viral video. Said viral videos aren't cute cat videos, but they either involve violence or sex, since that's what most people like. The characters are whatever and the story arcs are serviceable, but even though my brain tells me that this is trash, I still continue to read it because it's actually fun. But maybe your kind of horror involves watching your favorite character die in horrific ways. Maybe you're like me and love survival horror, or the Squid Game genre now. Well, I have a lot of suggestions for you, because I freaking love this genre. Examples include Alice in Borderland, Gantz, Cage of Eden, Terraformers, Batum, Family Rivalry Killing Battle, As the Gods Will, Doubt, but what I'm going to recommend is the OG survival horror, the manga adaptation of the book that would eventually lead to the hit game, Fortnite. That's right, I'm recommending my favorite manga ever, Battle Royale. 40 students, all with unique backstories, dreams, and interpersonal drama that will fight to the death on an island, filled with all kinds of gore, trauma, bromance, romance, and gooning material if you're into that sort of thing. It might not seem like an original premise now, but this is the original, as far as I know, and it's still one of the best stories from the Battle Royale genre. Nothing has topped this. Okay, maybe Fortnite has. Don't include that. Of course, gore isn't for everyone, and instead of seeing people die in gruesome ways, maybe you want to see them die internally, mentally, like they are trapped in a Silent Hill. Welcome to psychological horror, or the genre where we constantly give our main characters trauma. We have The Summer Hikaru Died, Blood on the Tracks, Boy's Abyss, Tonari no Ji-san, but I'm gonna recommend the most traumatic manga I've ever read, Oyasumi Punpun by Neo Asano. A coming-of-age story of a young boy that goes through every kind of trauma you can imagine and dives into very heavy themes, such as depression, anxiety, existential crisis, domestic violence, sexual abuse, rape, and suicidal thoughts. This is not for the faint of heart, and the horror doesn't come from an outside force like monsters, but from other people or family that you're supposed to feel safe with and trust, which leads to a cycle of abuse, where even you become the monster from within. This is a difficult genre to get right. Sometimes it can be too much, and then it loses shock value, like Boy's Abyss. But Oyasumi Punpun is able to keep a coherent narrative where things just get worse and worse and worse, and you really start to lose hope by the end of the manga. If you want to know what depression feels like, or you just want to get depressed, this is the manga for you. Do not read this if you are not in a good headspace. Just go get some help at that point. But if you're not in a good headspace, maybe you want to see cute girls doing scary things. Or you just want to vibe while occasionally having horrifying imagery. Maybe something to laugh at to keep up your spirits. Well, Miracle-chan is perfect for that. You can also try Zom 100. Yeah, it's about zombies and the horrors of Japanese work culture, but it's still a wholesome road trip story. While we're on the topic of zombies, check out Gakugurashi, where you have cute girls fighting zombies and also becoming traumatized. Maybe you want to see two girls bumblefuck their way in a surreal alien-like world filled with all kinds of horrors and mystery. Well, check out Wakusei Closet, a very underrated short horror manga. If you want to see a cute girl perform graphic violent experiments on humans, you can check out Frankenfran, probably the most messed up body horror I've ever seen. Have you ever seen a man get his brain ripped out and implanted into another man? Or a girl's body gets replaced by a caterpillar? Yeah, that's only chapter 2. This gets even more messed up. But Fran's such a cutie though. Okay, maybe this manga doesn't really fit in this section. You know what? I'm sure you're all tired of the gore. So let's end it by recommending a romance manga with horror elements. Horror and romance go hand in hand, and there are plenty to choose from, like Even If You Slit My Mouth, Dusk Maiden of Amnesia, Tsukihime, but I'm gonna recommend Rent a Girlfriend. Now this is a horror manga. People say it's a harem, but let's be real, it's a character study of a nice guy, or a cuck, or maybe a simp, who is trapped in a Sisyphean horror of falling in love with essentially a paid actress. I would say sex worker, but she doesn't even have sex with you. You can imagine her having sex with someone else, that happens. You will follow this journey of this man going through all kinds of hardships, trying to rizz up this girl, knowing full well he could have been with anyone else. He chooses to try to make her dreams come true, and you constantly get blue-balled. But the true horror isn't laughing at this man, but realizing that this man could be you. This is a grim reminder that if you become obsessed or even parasocial, your life might end up like this horror manga. And those are my horror manga recommendations. I hope you found something to read for Halloween, and if you have any more suggestions, please leave it in the comments down below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and I hope you have a great day. Try not to die, okay? Bye!
$100ください。